And welcome to another episode of the Tar Heels Insider Podcast. I'm your host, Grant Chachere, bringing you all the latest news in regards to your North Carolina Tar Heels. And I'm also the lead beat writer right here on Tar Heels on SI. Yesterday was a very good day for the Tar Heels football program, or really just the North Carolina fan base in general, right? I mean, Friday night, you beat Kansas. Huge win for the Tar Heels on the court. And then yesterday, you were able to defeat Stanford on homecoming, right? Very ugly win, 20-15. We'll kind of explain why it's ugly, but it was a good win for the Tar Heels. It was a much needed win for the Tar Heels. The defense was fantastic once again. They had 9 sacks, which is the second most in program history. Last year they had 10 sacks against Virginia, which is the program record. So they were just one short of that. 6 of those happened in the first half. The other 3, of course, happened in the second half. They allowed 320 yards of offense, which isn't a whole lot. However, most of those came off of passing yards, 284 to be exact. But most of those happened in the fourth quarter when UNC was already up 20-3. And then Stanford scored a couple of touchdowns late in the game. So really, it was just garbage time, points and yards. So it was a great day for Tar Heels, especially on the defensive side. Kamari House had 13 tackles, and he also had an interception. Andrew Simpson had 6 tackles and 2 sacks, a forced fumble, and a quarterback hit. Melcarta Bujaude brought his sack total for the season up to 10. He had 3 sacks yesterday. Tyler Thompson brought his sack total up to 7 after he had 3 sacks yesterday. And he also had a pass breakup. UNC's had 19 sacks in the past 3 games. Truly incredible stuff because I think they only had 6. They only had 6 coming right after the second bye week. So it's really incredible to see this pass rush, truly become one of the nation's elite. It's pretty incredible stuff, considering the fact that one of the biggest topics of discussion at the beginning of the year, and something I talked about on the podcast, and something I've written about, was the lack of push on the defensive line. Now, we don't even have to worry about that. It's almost a given how successful they've been up front, especially at rushing the passer. Just truly, truly great defensive performance, really elite defensive performance. Probably the best. You can make a case, I don't know. Virginia was pretty good. I'd say Virginia was the best one in terms of complimentary, but in terms of getting after the passer, it's definitely this game. But that just shows you how great this defense has been. The fact that this isn't even your best defensive performance. So it's just truly incredible stuff. However, there are some concerns I have with this team. And it's still, I thought it was going to improve. It's something that even I said in our prediction articles that they're going 35-7. I actually hopped on the Tar Pit podcast yesterday on the game day. You could go check that out. Check out the Tar Pit podcast, by the way. I want to mention that that was my 3rd time going on the podcast. Great guys. They're, of course, fans of Tar Heel football. And I always love going on those fan podcasts, too. I always do. And just because they're fans. And, also a way for fans to get to know you. And I always love interacting with fans, too. Just because it gives you a good idea of what what people are saying, what the community of Chapel Hill. There's a lot of cool people out there that you get to meet in fan bases, not only in UNC circles, but around the country. So that's why I always like going on fan podcasts. But make sure you go check them out if you're a fan of UNC football. But I even said they were going to win big in the Tar Pit podcast, right? Just because I thought the offense was improving. Of course, the defense has been dominant. However, UNC struggled yesterday. Absolutely struggled. They only had 253 yards of offense. I mean, a truly pitiful performance. And by the way, me yawning yesterday was literally me throughout most of the game because it was just bad football by both sides. I mean, UNC only had 47 yards in the first half. 47 yards. They were outgained 320 to 253. And I'm really concerned about the front. The fact that not only did they have a bad performance in this game, but they went back to their old ways. They've been improving the last 3 games, only for them to do this. And yes, they won. And as a fan, yes, I know wins are hard to come by. Winning is hard. Coach Belichick has said that. The players have said that. Everyone said it, and even I've said that wins are tough to come by. Winning's hard. It really is. But at the same time, you can't put up 253 yards against one of the nation's worst defenses. Stanford was in the 100, I think they were 117th going into the game in terms of total defense. Yeah, they were 117th in defense, allowing 425 yards per game. Their passing defense was one of the worst in the country coming into this. Their pass defense was absolutely horrid. They were 132nd in pass defense. They allowed 293 yards per game through the air, and you threw 203. And it took a lot to get to that 203. It actually took a 55-yard touchdown pass from Gio Lopez to Jordan Shipp to even get to 200. It was a truly pitiful performance by the offense. Truly pitiful. And I'm not surprised that the defense performed as well as it did. They've been doing that the past 4 weeks. Stanford is 125th in sacks allowed. They've allowed 3 sacks per game. They're 123rd in total offense. I mean, yes, that was a bad Stanford team. That was a bad offense, so I knew they were going to eat. But I expected UNC to at least have some sort of, to show life. Like, are they alive still? Because it seems like they're still dying. It looks like they're battling back, getting ready to get off the hospital bed. Only for them, for a few days later, to get back in that same hospital bed. Like, when are we going to see this offense come alive? Because next week, you got Wake Forest. And Wake Forest doesn't have a good offense. Like, it's below average. But their defense is really good. So it'll be really interesting to see how North Carolina performs on the road in Winston-Salem. And then on top of that, you got 2 teams in Duke and NC State who are both terrible on the defensive side. Yes, they have elite offenses, but they're terrible on defense. So if you can't perform against those 2 defenses, it's going to be a long day, because I don't think they're going to be Duke and NC State at this rate. I think they might beat Wake Forest. They might be Wake Forest. Wake Forest is 6-3, but their offense could be suspect at times. But there's no guarantee they're going to win that either. Like, the offense can't regress to pre-bye week UNC offense. And that's my biggest concern. I don't think they can make a bowl game with the way the offense has been performing. And I think a lot of people, and as a UNC fan, you should be upset by that. And no one should be upset by bad defense. I mean, UNC fans have been complaining about bad defense for a very long time. That was the thing I've heard the most since I've gotten the job, was how bad UNC's defenses have been in the past. And that has kept them from getting to where they want to go. Now you have a good defense. Or a great defense. An elite defense. But your offense sucks. And to me, and I've heard this, well, Bill Belichick's had to get the whole team. No. Bill Belichick had to get a new team. He had to get 70 new players and blah, blah, blah. So did Wake Forest. Wake Forest, if you look at their schedule, it's tougher. Right, it's tougher. They had Kennesaw State. Kennesaw State is first in their conference right now. They were beating NC State by 2 touchdowns before NC State pulled back in. They should have beat Georgia Tech. They beat SMU. And they beat Virginia last night. And yes, they got blown up by Florida State the other night. But they've had a much tougher schedule than UNC has, in my opinion. And they performed better. To me, I'm tired of hearing about, well, Bill Belichick's doing this, Bill Belichick's doing that, in terms of the rebuild. But Wake Forest has had to do the same exact thing with the new coach. So, if they lose next week as Wake Forest, to me, that's an indictment on Bill, because I don't think they're going to beat Duke and NC State. I think how they perform against Wake Forest might change that. But right now, looking at that offense, you can't win with that offense. No matter how great that defense is. You just can't. Especially when, after Wake Forest, the next 2 offenses you're going to play are even better. And I can make a case even more consistent than Virginia. So they got to get their act straight. That's how it is, man. It is what it is. So, but anyway, that's going to wrap it up for today's episode of the Tar Heels Insider Podcast. Once again, I'm your host, Grant Chachere, the lead beat writer for North Carolina Tar Heels on SI. And of course, you guys have a great rest of your day. Happy Sunday. Tomorrow's Monday. Everyone's getting back to work, so I'll pray for you guys. But anyway, we're going to have a lot of content coming out, right? Football and basketball. On Tuesday, UNC basketball will be back at the Dean Dome to take on Radford at 7 p.m. Then they take on NC Central on Friday at 9 p.m. And, of course, the Wake Forest is the next day at 4:30 on the CW. So we're going to have a bunch of coverage all week. Make sure to check that out on our website. And also, you guys have a great rest of your day. Peace.